This is professional wrestler and luchador extraordinaire Rey Genesis, the King of Light, and you're watching Drinking at Moe's.
All right, everybody, taking time out before we get this show started. I want to thank Reaper Apparel for having Drinkin' Mo's be a brand ambassador for their clothing line. They got good stuff. They got t-shirts, they got hoodies, they got beanies, they got lots of great stuff, encouraging everybody to break out of their comfort zone, live their best self, and hey, it's something I try to live every day. Now, be sure when you go and you're filling out your order, use the code Drinking at Moe's, get 10% off, and the link and the code will both be in the description. Let's All right, everybody, welcome to Drinking at Moe. Big Mo here. As always, you know the drill. YouTube, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. Helps with the pain in the ass algorithm they got over there. Most places you can find your audio podcasts, I am there too. Today, I'm excited to have with me, I feel like I'm going back to my second home in Southern California, having been stationed there in the Navy. Another guy that got kind of recommended to me by a mutual friend of ours. But the man is Rey Genesis. How you doing?
I'm doing well, my man. How's it going?
Oh, I can't complain. Like I said before we started recording, looking back at some of my collection back here, figuring out how I'm gonna rearrange stuff. Had some pretty cool wrestling times the last week or so. Getting to attend as of recording this, last week's Monday Night Raw. So I've been doing pretty well.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. I can't complain one bit. My wife surprised me with tickets, and I'm like, alrighty then.
Oh, heck yeah, dude. Oh, you know what's funny? I think the weekend before, NXT had their pay-per-view, right? No Mercy?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I was wrestling down the street from the show.
No kidding.
Yes, so we had like a little like taco festival, and they had
Oh,
pro
yeah.
wrestling. They had pro wrestling there, and the time I was wrestling, No Mercy was going down the street at the arena.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, I remember hearing about that Taco Fest, and I'm like, man, it makes me miss being down there in SoCal because, man, while we have some good taco places up here, nothing compares to what I got down there during my time. Not
Oh,
at all.
dude. I love going to like those taco stands after like a lucha show, like on a Saturday or Sunday night.
Mm.
You do the lucha show, then all the boys, there's literally you walk out of the venue and there's like a taco stand.
Oh, yeah. And some of my favorite places, before we get into some of the stuff in my notes, some of my favorite places are those hole in the wall spots that
Right.
you're looking at them and you're like, you wouldn't think they're anything special, but then you get your food and you're like, oh, full on Homer Simpson impression on the damn tacos. Like, oh,
Right. Oh my God. It gets me every time.
oh yeah. Some of my favorite moments are these little off topic conversations I get to have on the show. Some great stuff.
Oh yeah, those are the best times.
Like I tell people about when I got to have my first California burritos down there, and I was describing them to them, and they're like, "Holy crap, that sounds delicious!" And I'm like, "Yeah." One time coming back from being out at sea, I was craving them so bad, I went and got two.
Oh yeah, have to.
Oh yeah. Now, like I said, I got some stuff on my notes here. Some of my trying to keep myself on topic as much as possible. But
You're good.
I trail off every once in a while. It happens. But first thing I like to start off with everybody with is what got you started as a fan, and then what got you finally deciding to make the leap into the business.
So what got me started as a fan was I started watching. If I remember correctly, I started watching SmackDown with my dad. This was back in the early 2000s,
Okay.
and I think I want to say 2001, 2002. He had an episode of SmackDown back when it was on Thursday nights on UPN. UPN.
Oh yeah, UPN was where it started out. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my earliest memory of watching wrestling, and then I just became a fan. And then over time, my dad started watching like the old school El Santo movies, Blue Demon movies,
Mm.
and then that kind of got me like more interested in and what why are they wearing like colorful masks? Why is it going like it was like a typical like superhero movie, right? Like we see in Marvel.
Oh yeah.
And and so so he started watching those, and then one day I remember he put on Triple A on
Mm.
Saturday. That's like on Saturday mornings, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Oh
Um,
yeah. They had some special stuff.
yeah,
They
that
still
back
do.
when to mention names, Cybernetico was on the show at the time. Who else? Mascara Sagrada was on the show at the time. All those great luchadors in Triple A back
Oh
in the
yeah.
early 2000s. So that's what got me as a fan. And then I was just digging deep into like WWE, um, back to like Triple A and CMLL. I was growing up watching those type of shows,
Mm.
and then what got me started into thinking uh, if I could pursue this. As a kid, you're like, I want to be a pro wrestler.
Mm.
You're in school with all your friends, and you're
Oh
play
yeah.
fighting, you're wrestling, doing 619s on the volleyball tetherball course or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Um, what's crazy is that at that time, everyone was saying, "Oh, we're gonna be pro wrestlers. We're gonna be the next Triple H. We're gonna be the next The Rock."
Yeah.
And what's funny is that my friends, or that uh, group of students, fell off. They stopped watching. They got into sports. Um, different avenues.
Yeah.
And I never grew out of it. I always told myself one day I want to pursue professional wrestling. And in high school, I kind of stopped watching wrestling for a bit because you're busy doing other stuff.
Yeah.
And then into my college years, I still had that in the back of my head. I really want to pursue professional wrestling.
That,
And I told my family, I want to do it. I want to be in the ring. And the only thing they told me was, "We'll support you, but the only thing you got to do for us is provide us a college education."
mm.
So I went out, got my college degree. Literally the day I got my diploma, I was like, "Here you go. Here's my diploma. I'm gonna go do professional wrestling," and then the rest is history.
Hey, that's good. I can see where the family was coming from there. They want you to have, I guess, for the lack of a better term, a bit of a backup plan, in
Yes.
case the professional wrestling stuff doesn't go the way you might have imagined it. And then, you bring up some interesting stuff that I had later on in my notes, but, this might be a good segue here. The mass working in with the lucha libre culture that some people that might not have had the time in Southern California, in around Mexico, that I've been lucky enough to be able to, they might not get the significance of the mass in that culture, and like everybody has seemingly has a story behind their mass.
Mhm.
What would you say? Do you have something like that with regards to yours?
So yeah, so it's interesting because my mask. So I have two designs, right? This one has like snakes, I would call them, and then I have another one that has stars. And that one I'll talk about it after this one. But the whole concept behind the mask is that, that's like I mentioned, me and my dad started watching wrestling, and that he's always been a fan as well, and he still is to this day, but he's more into the lucha libre
Mm.
culture. And when I told him, hey, I want to, I want to be a professional wrestler, I want to do this, like it's been my dream. He actually started drawing concepts of my mask.
Okay.
He was actually drawing different designs of these beautiful masks, and he would always show them to me, like, how about this one? Like, do you like this one? Do you like that one? And at the time I was in high school, so I didn't think much of it.
Yeah.
So, but he knew that if he kept drawing concept, that I would still get to drive to become a professional wrestler. And so one day he drew this one, and then when I saw it, I was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. That I like the snakes. I like how it resembles like Rey Mysterio, because
I
growing
mean,
up,
yeah.
growing up, Rey Mysterio was the guy that kind of got me into sticking into watching wrestling. And after I found out more about Rey Mysterio, I got to check out his background and his different masks, and that's what I was like. You know what? Let's go with that.
I was gonna say when before we started recording, the thing that kind of popped in my head a little bit when seeing the mask first, it was like it kind of looks a little Rey Mysterio esque. I was digging it. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. That's the whole concept behind it. Growing up, watching Rey Mysterio on SmackDown. He was my guy. He was my
Oh yeah.
guy, especially when he started wrestling in the 2002 on SmackDown.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, me, man, I'm really gonna date myself with some people, but man, I born 1983, so a little before he got started there, but man, I remember some of the early days of like Monday Nitro with WCW and getting to see him there. And man, just the mass that he had back then, and just that kind of drew me in. And then seeing the acrobatics that guy could pull off, it was
Right.
just something else.
Yeah, I think that's what drew to me. Just the way he was doing his movements he was doing in the ring was different compared to any other wrestler on the roster
Oh,
in WCW or WWE.
oh yeah.
So I think
And then,
that's what caught my attention from Rey Mysterio.
oh, most definitely. And I'll admit, yeah, there was stuff before the WCW days that, yeah, I didn't really get introduced to them until WWE Network came along, and then I started seeing the the original ECW days and some of the stuff they were pulling off there with Psychosis and
Mhm.
Juventud, and man, the just became enamored with that culture and that style of wrestling. It was just like you had the people that are straightforward, just grit and just pound you style, and then you had these guys get pulling off these just insane stuff that it was just mind blowing.
Mhm. Crazy.
And oh yeah, and I mentioned that you came recommended by somewhat of a mutual friend of ours,
Okay.
a guy that I have seen that you guys are going to be teaming up. I can't remember if you guys have already, but the one and only SoCal Crazy.
SoCal Crazy. Yes, I love that dude to death.
No, he's like a brother to me.
Yes, like I don't think I ever told him, but before I started wrestling or training, I would go see indie shows up here in California, and I was backstage with the boys as so I started training a bit, and so they let me come backstage, and I remember seeing SoCal Crazy. I don't think he remembers me, but when I met him, he had his mask on and everything, and I'm like, oh my god, dude, like I've heard of you. You're a legend here in California, and I just started shaking and just getting excited about reading SoCal Crazy. When I first started out wrestling, but yeah, SoCal Crazy is amazing. Yeah, we did started tagging 2 months ago, and
I was
so
he was mentioning to me around the time that I think you guys were just the idea was coming up.
mhm.
So he was talking to me about it, and it's like, okay, this sounds promising. This is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, so I'm excited to tag with him again. The last time we did, we the people received us with open arms. The crowd was going wild. The things we were doing, and I believe the next time we tag, we are going up for tag team title belts.
Nice. That'll be awesome. I look forward to hearing how that goes. I know some of the Southern California promotions are getting put on SoCal Wrestling TV on the Roku channel. So I got a Roku TV, so I'm kind of keeping my eye, see if that ends up getting on there because I would be excited to hear about that because I didn't get started watching independent wrestling until I was stationed down there in San Diego and
No,
happened to just Google pro wrestling in San Diego. Boom, here popped up a show, and in one of the main matches that night, SoCal Crazy was in there. And then, oh God, I'm wanting to say the next show, it was New Wave Pro out there, and they were doing their big tidal wave show, their WrestleMania, and I'm wanting to say it was him and Joey Chaos.
oh,
I
okay.
know they were involved in there somewhere, and man, here I am now. I'm getting to talk to a bunch of you guys down there. I'm hoping to get back down there for some shows here sometime soon. But man, the people I'm getting to talk to, the fun I'm having, and it all started with me just Google searching pro wrestling in San Diego.
That's awesome. That's what it takes. You just go on Google, type in a few words, and you never know what opens up in your world.
Oh, most definitely. And something that I was really excited to talk to you about after I saw this match get posted. You had a match here recently with a former guest of mine, Loco, formerly known Mariachi Loco. I don't know if we're allowed to still call him that, but I was excited to have him on, and then seeing the what I've been able to see so far of that match, I'm like, this was awesome.
Yeah, dude, that match, leading that match, another story behind Loco and my history was my dad and stuff. My dad saw Loco wrestle at a local fair, and
Okay.
he my dad found Loco backstage after the show, and he asked him personally, "Hey, how can my son pursue professional wrestling?" And then Loco gave him the info. He gave him his number. I got his number in Facebook during that time, and I remember I messaged Loco as just a regular person, and he sent me his school info, and then I remember I told him, hey, before our match, hey, like my dad and I reached out to you to see if I how can I become a professional wrestler. And I'm sure he doesn't remember, but telling him that made me feel special. It made me feel really cool that I get to wrestle someone that I got to meet 10 plus years ago.
Yeah, that is awesome. Kind of a full circle moment there, with the
Hmm.
beginning and then now you're getting to share the ring with the guy. Pretty cool full circle moment there.
Yes, and I tell you, man, that match was nuts. Me and Local were going at it. You know, people, the fans in there kind of knew who I was, but Local has been established at that venue where we were wrestling, and when I came out, people were cheering, but after the match, I got the applause. I got fans telling me, "Wow, that match was amazing." Even the promoter was like, "Wow, I did not expect you to have that kind of match."
That is a bit of a stamp of approval if there ever was one right there.
Yes, and before the match, I got to the menu, and for me, it was game time. Yeah, it was game time. I was happy to be there, but I was there to make to do business.
Yeah.
And then after the match, I my stress levels went down. I got to relax, because wrestling someone like Loco who's been on TV, who's been on Lucha Underground and all those top promotions, it
Yeah.
can be intimidating. But I knew going into that match that I had to go all out.
Oh yeah. No, you get the opportunity to be with somebody that's been on that stage. You want to put even more effort out there than you probably normally would.
Hmm.
Even if you already put in 100%, you're just that much more when you're going up against somebody like Loco that's been on those stages, Lucha Underground and all.
Yeah, right.
Now, what's next for Rey Genesis? I know we talked a little bit about, teaming with SoCal Crazy. What else does Rey Genesis have next?
You know, honestly, man, I want it all. I do have few shows coming up, but for me, I feel like my next step in my career, is to go for those top promotions. I want to go down to Mexico. I want to go wrestle in AEW, New Japan. The good thing about California is we have the New Japan dojo, and I got to experience that a couple years ago for one day, doing their training and see how they train. And I just got the bug, man. I just want to go out there and get better as a performer, but also as a person. I want to be able to achieve those dreams and show people that it could be done.
Oh, definitely. And, with some of the top promotion, like AEW seems to be a little more independent wrestler friendly with giving them opportunities actually in matches, but
Hmm.
they're getting out there a little more frequently now, out to California. I
Hmm.
know what they got Full Gear coming up in LA, I believe it
Yeah.
was.
Yep.
I mean, hell, they're coming around California more than they do Nebraska. I'll tell you that much. Closest they've come to me is like 3.5 hours away.
Oh, wow. Yeah. But they're growing, and I have some of the best trainers right now. I'm currently training with the former WWE superstar Brian Kendrick,
Okay.
and he's been teaching me a lot of the ins and outs of the business, what things to do, what things not to do. But I'm learning a lot from him and his experiences. He has a plethora of knowledge. Being a student from Shawn Michaels, one of the best in the business.
Oh yeah.
So when it comes to training with him, it's like it's go time. Every
Oh,
time,
totally.
every week I
Totally.
get to train with him. there's no games here. We gotta put in the work and get better.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you bring up the New Japan dojo out there. There's no shortage of like very reputable schools out there in California. They do have the New Japan dojo, which you know coincidentally the guy we were talking about for a little bit there, SoCal Crazy, just had a pretty good little time there with the New Japan dojo, just finishing up there, getting to be a part of their dojo showcase, which
Yes.
I look forward to looking up that because I'm going to be interviewing one of the other people that were in that match with him here coming up in the next little bit. I got to look back at my calendar again, but I do have that interview scheduled up. So, hey, New Japan, getting a little experience in there, that would be pretty cool for sure.
Oh yeah, I'm so happy for SoCal Crazy and the things he had to go through over the past couple of years, and just seeing him in the New Japan ring, it just gave me a tear to my eye just because, oh man, he deserves it. He
Oh,
deserves everything that he's
totally.
and more, and I'm very excited to you know to to continue our tag team, but also our friendship.
Oh,
He's a brother to me now, and if anything, if whatever he needs, I'm there for him.
Oh, same here with me. I know when I first saw the picture pop up of the training class there, and I saw him, I'm like, oh my god, this is awesome. With with everything, like you said, that he went through, and now he's making up for lost time, and I don't blame him one damn bit. Man, he is a machine right now. I am loving every minute of it, and I've told him before, and I've told a few others that have had somewhat of a history with him that I will never pass up a chance to hype him up on this show.
Right.
Never. Any chance I get, by all means, I will put everything behind that.
Oh yeah. I even when I'm at other shows, I talk about him. There's always a sentence in there about Soga Crazy. He's an amazing dude, and I got plenty of love for SoCal.
Oh, most definitely. Now, I have two categories I kind of like to round stuff off with here. One's a bit of a name game where, I try to theme it towards the guests as much as possible. And you know what? This one, I figure we talked a little bit about lucha libre culture, the mass. I am putting together on my notes here some of the famous mass out there in wrestling, whether past, present, they're out there.
Right.
And I give you the name, you give me quick thoughts on the person.
Awesome. Let's do it.
All right. First one that I am very glad to see the success that he's having right now. And I enjoyed the little dig that Nick Aldis had on SmackDown with this man's son saying, I'm I'm a big fan of your I'm a big fan of your father, Rey Mysterio.
The goat.
Definitely can't argue that one bit.
He set the stepping stone for us luchadors.
Oh yeah. And now getting to see the run that he's having with the revamped LWO, which I've heard some people were kind of skeptical at first, but now seeing the run they're getting to have, hey, they're doing pretty damn good.
Oh yeah, amazing, amazing.
Next one, a bit of a historical one here. Blue Demon Jr.
Legend.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
legend. He's still wrestling in his this part of his career. I don't know. I've never seen him without the mask, but I know he's been wrestling for a long time, and he's still putting on amazing matches.
Oh, most definitely. Next one, person that's had some history with the first name on the list, Psychosis.
Innovator.
Mm-hmm. Can't argue that.
He been able to somehow still wrestle the way he does now, but have new personas in his career.
It has been kind of interesting seeing that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
not too many people can really reinvent themselves and get those different personas in there. But hey, those that do tend to seem to have that little bit longer of a longevity in their career.
Oh, most definitely. Like if you go back to the '90s where he wore his mask to where he is now, it's huge difference from night to day.
Oh, totally. Last but not least here, one of my current favorites, Pentagon.
Pentagon. I say Pentagon now is what Rey Mysterio was 20 years ago.
I can definitely agree with that. I hadn't thought about it that way, but I can definitely agree with it.
Pentagon is he manages again to also be innovative to his persona, to his in-ring work, even to his promos.
Oh,
Like he
definitely.
he he is definitely one that I believe needs to be in WWE.
Oh, definitely. I mean, he's having a pretty decent run there with AEW, but I could see him. I can see him having success in WWE for sure.
Yeah, especially the way he interacts to the fans in
Yeah.
the ring. His just his aura, the way he moves in the ring, um, his Cero Miedo gimmick, it's amazing, and I think it could get over in
Oh
WWE.
yeah. If they were to allow him to be that same personality that he is now there, because I mean WWE has in the past been wanting to change it up into more their image, but if they allow Pentagon now to be that in WWE, oh man, it would go over like crazy.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, without a doubt.
Most definitely. Now, I have some random questions. Some might be wrestling related, some might not be. You give me the first answer that pops into your head when you hear the question.
Alrighty.
This one is one that I like to keep in here as much as possible because I love the stories behind it. Excuse me. Craziest in match moment for you?
Crazy. Personally, like in my career,
Yeah, for you. Yeah.
um, let's see, craziest moment. Uh, huh. For me, it has to be uh, going, running through the middle rope, suicide dive, and landing on a chair on my face.
Oh, ouch.
Yep,
Ouch.
that is
Like,
the and funniest moment in my career.
yeah, it would be hard to top that. Like,
Yep.
I've been lucky enough to get to witness some pretty cool moments in wrestling. I know so far the only AEW show that I've ever got to attend, one of the matches there, probably hands down one of my favorite matches I've ever seen. Kenny Omega versus Vikingo.
Oh yes.
That moment where Kenny was on the table
Mm.
ringside and Vikingo just did that flip move he does, like over the rope and onto Kenny, looking like he about hit the back of his head on the
Apron.
ring apron.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that was intense.
Oh yeah. I could only imagine his thought process into that. But the people went crazy, and when I did that spot uh, in that match for myself, people were going crazy. At the same time, I was just like, what's going on? Where am I at?"
I can imagine the after effects of that one when you're trying to just kind of gather yourself and just like, oh, okay, it must have went over well with you guys, but what the hell happened?
Right, right.
Yeah, and you know, I've seen some other crazy moments, but I could literally do a whole episode of crazy moments I've got to witness. Some
Right.
that I've talked with a bunch on the show, but we'll leave it at that. Now, we kind of talked a little bit about food here. Everybody has their favorites. I'm not necessarily a picky eater, but I have my favorites. What would you say a favorite food for you?
Tacos.
I cannot argue with that one bit. Not one bit.
So it's a tie between tacos and tortas.
Okay. Yeah, it's probably a tie for me between kind of a three-way tie here. Tacos, cheeseburgers, and lasagna.
Okay.
I could go for any of those any day. I know, oh man, one of my favorite spots here in Omaha, they're getting ready to, they're in the process of reopening because it was one of my wife and I's favorite spots called, you know, when I'm even, the name of it is escaping me right now and I hate myself for it. But we would always go there. Like my wife would say, "Hey, you want to go?" And I'm like, "Yes. Why aren't we there already?" And we were there shortly before Christmas this one year, and all of a sudden, like the place looked a little smoky, but we figured they had a fireplace in there that was going. We maybe somebody burnt something in the kitchen. We don't know. Nobody was freaking out. Well, we get my wife orders her food. I'm about to order mine, and all of a sudden, somebody points out to the server, there's something's wrong with the fireplace, and then boom, they evacuate everybody. The before a few minutes later, smoke is so thick you can't see back inside the building.
Oh wow.
Smoke going all over the place. Well, basically, the whole place burnt down.
Oh gosh. Oh
But
no.
they decided to rebuild. They're rebuilding on the same spot, and they should be reopening, from what I remember hearing, either very end of this year or very early next year.
Okay. Well, that's
So,
good. That's
but yeah, favorite tacos in all of Omaha there. Absolutely.
nice.
Like I'm craving them now just talking about it.
Right. Oh yeah. It's almost dinner time for me over here in California.
Oh yeah. Hell, once we get done recording, I'm gonna be getting my wife and I's dinner ready myself. So,
Awesome.
all right. Now, this is one that kind of a new question for this category because sometimes I'd like to throw in a new one here. What is a place that you haven't gone to wrestle yet that you want to get in there sooner rather than later?
Hmm. For me, it would have to be Philadelphia.
That's a big one. Definitely.
just because I've seen luchadors go out there and wrestle, especially at the ECW arena.
Yeah,
And my trainer Brian Kendrick, he wrestles there from time to time, and he always talks about his experience wrestling at the ECW arena. And every time he talks about it, I'm like, how cool would it be for me, a small town kid, to be able to wrestle at the ECW arena?
that would be pretty epic. Get yourself a picture right by that big mural, ECW mural they got in there. That would be sweet.
I seen wrestlers out here in California out there, and I'm just like, one day if they could do it, I could do it.
Oh, most definitely. I look forward to the day that you get to knock that one off the list for sure. Now, with the name of a show like Drinking and Moe's, I would feel weird if I didn't have this question in here. Favorite drink, whether it be alcoholic or non, or one of each, because I've had plenty of people on that for one reason or another don't drink, so I try to be respectful of it and always tell them just because the name of a show says Drinking at Moe's doesn't mean that drink has to be alcoholic.
I love a good beer here and there.
Oh,
Who
don't.
can't resist, you know?
I'm
Who
I'm
can
definitely more of a beer guy myself.
Recently I really love drinking the Voodoo Rangers.
Ooh, those are some good ones.
My girlfriend's father drinks them, and
Mm.
he introduced it to me, and every time I see them at the store, I'm like, oh, I gotta. 'Cause they have different flavors or different kinds of Voodoo Rangers, so um, can't go wrong with those.
Oh yeah, I know. I definitely got my favorites. Like Kona Big Wave is one of my absolute favorites. Uh, oh, Coors Banquet's another one. Stone Cold's beers are
Oh yeah,
delicious,
those are good.
especially his American Lager. His American Lager is my favorite of the two. And then there's one beer that only gets sold in Wisconsin, and I'm starting to run out of my supply. It's called Spotted Cow. And the time I went up to go to my first game at Lambeau Field,
Mhm.
I picked up a bunch, and well, I'm starting to run out.
Oh, it's time for repick of.
You know what? I might have to. I might have to.
And
All right.
I really liked that Stone beer too. I had it when WrestleMania was in LA this year.
You know what? I had plenty of people tell me that, hell, all I needed to do was get a plane ticket and I had a spot to stay. And I'm like, oh God, you're making a tempting offer because it is still on my bucket list to go to a WrestleMania. I don't care where I sit. I could need binoculars just to see anything in the ring. I don't care. Just to say that I went to one.
Oh yeah, like I sat behind the not behind, oh kind of behind. I was sitting behind, but over the stage. If that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, I did notice they had some seats kind of in that area there. Yeah.
So I couldn't really see the wrestlers come out, but I still had a clear view of the ring, which I was fine with. It's
Oh yeah.
WrestleMania. You
Oh
know, and,
yeah.
and for the price that I got them, I had to go. I had to go.
Oh, totally. I cannot blame you one bit there. All right. Last but not least here, best advice for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
Easy. Make sure if you ever decide to step in the ring to get fit.
Mm, yeah, that would be a good starting point for sure.
Be fit. It doesn't matter if you were an athlete or not. Being physically fit in the ring is very important just because you want to be able to keep up with your opponent and also not get hurt in the process.
Yeah, because it's when you notice when people seem to more of the injuries is when one person's going full speed and the other might have gotten a little gassed and is just like, not going as fast, and then boom, all of a sudden. Same thing in a lot of sports, really.
I'm a huge advocate of gym. I love going to the gym. I treat it as a religion. If I don't go to the gym, I feel like something's wrong with me, like something is off, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, we all have personal lives and jobs that we have to go to and stuff, but I always make a priority, no matter how tired I am, no matter how stressful the day was, you know, I gotta make time for the gym.
Oh yeah, and I'll admit I probably could go. Hell, I probably need to get a damn membership, but because I always hear that that little bit of oh, that good feeling you get after you get in a good workout, maybe a little sore, but you're like you get a little energized, that good feeling going.
Oh yeah, and I feel like if you can't sleep for X, Y, and Z, the gym, have a good workout. Oh, you put you right to sleep right after. Sleep like a
Oh,
baby.
oh, totally. Hell, probably something I need to do sometimes when I can't sleep, because good Lord, there's days where I do not sleep worth a shit.
Right, and gym's important in the wrestling. You gotta be able to put on a performance, but at the same time, you're telling a story in the ring, but you're doing it with your body, and you
Oh,
gotta you gotta be able to you know who knows, you may be wrestling for 10 minutes or 30 minutes.
yeah.
You gotta have the physical abilities to be able to put on a performance.
Oh, definitely. Now, before we go, where can people find you social media wise? So if they don't already have their eyes on you, they can go ahead and get them there. Oops.
So I have a Instagram account. You can follow me at Rey Genesis Official. I'm there more times than other social media, but I do also have a Twitter at Rey Genesis Lucha, and I do have a Facebook account, but that's more personal. But I still add people. That is Rey Genesis.
All right, we'll get that all in the description. And you know what? I can kind of hear some dogs in the background there, and I can hear them upstairs for me. So probably getting close to time that I should go check on them before. Well, my wife and I, one of our dogs is a now little over 1 year old Great Dane.
Oh,
So
wow.
she can she can be a little terror sometimes, but I love her to death.
Oh yeah, I love dogs. I have a cat too, but I'm more of a dog person.
Oh yeah, yeah. My wife and I got both, but yeah, I'm more of a dog person myself. But anyways, that is about all I have. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight, and best of luck out there with all the shows you got coming up.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for having me.